Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at the Louisville Fire Department's headquarters, and I hope everyone is having a nice week before the Thanksgiving holiday. We've had plenty of reasons to highlight the incredible work that Chief O'Neill and his team at the Louisville Fire Department have been doing every single day recently. They respond to fires and all other types of emergencies. About 60,000 calls for service last year alone. And today, we're going to talk about something new that the fire department is doing in partnership with other Louisville city government agencies as well to prevent fires from happening in the first place. We're really concerned to work to prevent fires and to ensure public safety in all walks of life across the entire city. And we're always looking at ways that our city government agencies can work closer together to improve public safety throughout the city. And one of the ways that we're doing that is we are attacking the challenge of vacant and abandoned properties across our city. We have about 2,500 vacant and abandoned properties all across Louisville in different neighborhoods. And too often, those vacant and abandoned structures turn into gathering points for criminal activity, which is an incredible concern for our neighborhood and police. I'll give that a second. Okay. Here we go. My thoughts there. Will it be a second, or is that the...
It's going to take just a second.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, I'll stop again. So again, vacant and abandoned structures often turns into gathering points for criminal activities. Also, people experiencing homelessness often take up shelter in these structures, even though they're not safe for inhabitants. And we see far too many fires in these vacant and abandoned structures as well. In fact, about 15% of all of Louisville Fire Department's runs are as a result into abandoned buildings. In action. All right, might get some more beeps. We'll keep going. So, the fire department in action. So again, we're focused on abandoned and decaying structures and buildings. Criminal activity takes place there. Individuals who are homeless seek shelter even though it's not safe there. And about 15% of the Louisville Fire Department's runs are to abandoned buildings. Some of the fires there are just deliberately set. Others are accidental as a result of individuals who might be trying to stay warm on a cold night. But again, it is not a safe place, and as a result, fires too often happen in buildings without smoke alarms, where there's not safety with the primary focus. So that's not acceptable. We've identified this issue, and we're taking action. We're taking action to improve the safety of the individuals who can be harmed. We're taking safety to prevent the loss of structures and to improve safety and the quality of life for every neighborhood. So we're taking multiple actions to address this. We've recently announced our new Affordable Housing Lien Waiver Program. This is a new pilot program designed to help create homeownership opportunities, designed to help turn these vacant and abandoned structures into new homes for new families that can have homeownership opportunities and improve the quality of life and end the decay that these vacant and abandoned structures are negatively impacting our neighborhoods. Also, last week, we announced a new temporary emergency shelter for families that are experiencing homelessness in partnership with the VOA at the Community Care Campus. We're going to have a permanent family shelter open next year, but it's starting to get cold, and we want families in Louisville to have a place to stay during this cold winter season. Those are two things that we have already announced, and today I'm proud to announce even more steps that we're taking to reduce the public safety threat that we see far too often from vacant and abandoned properties. Today, I'm pleased to announce that Louisville Metro government is launching a new abandoned properties team. This team will be led by Deputy Mayor David James and Deputy Mayor Nicole George. They'll work alongside leadership from multiple city agencies, including the Louisville Fire Department, the Louisville Metro Police Department, Codes and Regulations, and Metro Homeless Services, and others. The abandoned properties team will focus on identifying public safety concerns around abandoned properties and finding safe and healthy solutions that reduce fires, that reduce crime, and help people experiencing homelessness get the access to services and safe shelter that they need. We'll also be taking steps to make it harder for people to trespass inside these vacant and abandoned properties. And of course, the public has an important role to play in improving public safety as well. Everyone can help us identify these properties so that we can take action, to make Louisville a safer city, a stronger city, and a healthier city. To tell us a little bit more about the abandoned properties team, we have several colleagues with us today that are very involved in this effort. So first, let me introduce our host today, Chief Brian O'Neill, to talk a little bit about the fire department's role in this new initiative. Chief O'Neill?
Good morning. Welcome to our fire headquarters. So to start off, I want to kind of highlight why it is such a unique hazard when we have fires in a vacant or abandoned property. Most of those happen between the months of November and March. Basically, when it gets cold, people are going to do what they need to try to seek shelter, to try to get warm. If you think about a typical home, if you were to happen to have a smoke alarm go off, you live there, you're going to get notified early of any type of a fire, usually in its incipient stage, and you can get on top of it before it gets bad. In a vacant or abandoned structure, it's going to be significantly moving and building before somebody notices and calls 911. So just in the last 3 years, we've had over 300 fires in either vacant or abandoned structures. We just had a big one this morning over on Vermont Avenue in a home. 23% of those fires spread beyond the building of origin. So if you think about how tightly packed our homes and our buildings are within Metro Louisville, the chance of fire spread is quite dangerous. 80% of those fires were in residential areas. We do have a significant number of commercial properties that are vacant, but most of them are residents. Of that, 5 rescues that our firefighters have been able to make happen in those fires, 5 rescues, 11 firefighter injuries over those last 3 years. Oftentimes these vacant and abandoned structures, you've got holes in the floor, they make a significant risk for our firefighters. However, we treat every building we go to, every structure we go to, as if it were occupied. So we get in there, we do our searches because, again, we're trying to save lives. There's been 1 civilian injury, 3 fire fatalities, and 1 fatality at a homeless encampment. Nearly half of the multiple alarm fires we've had over the last 3 years started in a vacant or abandoned structure. Now, our firefighters don't just sit in the fire station and wait for somebody to call 911. We are proactively trying to prevent these problems from happening. We have a very aggressive fire prevention, but to this specifically, when we look at community risk reduction as it deals with vacant and abandoned structures, we are working with codes and regs, we're working with RCS, we're working with the police to try to put a stop to this as best we can. Our fire companies are getting out on a regular basis and going block to block, house to house, to try to identify these vacant and abandoned structures. So we can get them written up, we can put in a request for an emergency board up to get them secured so that we don't have trespassing going on there. We can also put in an emergency demolition to try to get it torn down if it's in such a state that it needs to come down for the safety of the neighborhood, for the safety of our community. We are working with RCS to try to help people who are vulnerable and in dangerous situations to get them housed and to get them the help that they need. All of this data, we are very much a data-driven fire department. This is all stored. You've heard the knockout go out a couple of times. If we were dispatched to one of those locations, we have iPads in every fire truck that's going to pop up and let us know, hey, this is a vacant abandoned structure, or any other type of unique hazards that might be going on there. So what can you, the public, do to help? First and foremost, remain vigilant. Be aware of the hazards that are in your neighborhood. And if it is a vacant or abandoned property, know that it's there. Be aware of it so that you can be cognizant, especially if it's right next door to your home. If you see anything that is a nuisance going on there, call 311. Let the city know at 311, goes down to MetroSafe. Let them know, hey, there's a nuisance, there's somebody there that shouldn't be. If you suspect criminal activity or something that is a threat to life or property, call 911. That's what we're here for. My friends and my brothers and sisters in blue and those of us in red, that's what the 911 system is for if you think that there's a threat to life or property. But most importantly, be aware of what's going on in your neighborhood. Be aware of the hazards so that you're always cognizant and aware. The fact is we live in a very old city. Our buildings are very close to each other. Our homes are close to each other. So good neighbors make for a good community. I will pass it off now to that said brother in blue, Chief Humphrey. Thanks.
All right, thank you to Mayor Greenberg and Chief O'Neill, as well as Director Price, for involving LMPD in such an important project. Last week, we unveiled our strategic crime plan, and as part of that, we talked about our sustained focus improvement. And that's about how we can collaborate across government agencies along with the community to improve public safety. This is such an important project from the standpoint of how do we change over neighborhoods, how do we change communities as a whole over time, but how do we also improve community and public safety? And so the ability to collaborate on a project such as this is extremely important in accomplishing that. We know from our experience, any officer who's ridden the beat for any amount of time knows that when it comes wintertime, that is one of the things that we are often concerned about is fires and abandoned properties. We also know that abandoned properties are often havens of criminal activity, drug activity, and other dangerous activity that needs to be addressed. So we're asking that the community be vigilant, as Chief O'Neill said. Call 911, call 311, and report these issues before they become real issues for the community. We want to make sure that we are getting people the resources so that when we are dealing with people who may be homeless and just need a warm place to stay, that we can get those resources to them through our homeless outreach teams. But we also understand that there's criminal activity that can be associated with these properties that we need to address for the good of the community. This is, like I said, about changing over neighborhoods. The issues surrounding vacant and abandoned properties within a residential neighborhood, it attracts crime, it attracts blight, it reduces property values, and it contributes to a sense of lack of safety for community members. In commercial areas, we know that it makes patrons feel like they're less safe. So let's make sure that we come together as a community, address these issues as they should be addressed in a whole of community approach, and let's take care of this issue. I am excited about this initiative being a partnership between multiple agencies within Metro government. And the way that we have with our 311 system for community to call in, for police to report these issues so that Director Price or the fire department can take care of those issues before they become real problems is a potential growth point for our community, and I'm very excited about it. This time I'll turn it over to Director Price. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Greenberg, Deputy Mayors George, Deputy Mayors James, Chief O'Neill, and Chief Humphrey for allowing us to be part of this team to enforce public safety and keep this neighborhood safe. A code-compliant city is a safe, strong, and healthy city. There is no question. And Code and Regulations is excited to collaborate with this team and other Metro agencies to take action, to educate, and to improve public safety. Now, improving public safety is Codes and Regulations' top priority. We're going to focus on the safety of neighbors and neighborhoods and individuals experiencing homelessness. We're going to do it in 3 ways. We're going to give dedicated focus to identifying and inspecting vacant and abandoned properties, using our boarding crews to deter entry by securing these properties with clearboarding and other means to keep people out. And we're going to do this swiftly. We're going to post trespass waivers and signage to alert people that they are in violation of the law when you trespass on these properties. If we find occupants, trespassers, and homelessness, we will work with Resilience and Community Services to provide resources to those individuals. We will follow up by ensuring that all of these properties remain secure and they remain safe. Sometimes we may have to demo some of these very dilapidated properties. We will continue to collaborate with LMPD to prevent breaches. Once we post those no trespass waivers, we're going to collaborate in a hard way, stay in communication with LMPD to make sure that people do not breach these properties. And finally, we know we cannot do this. We've shown since I've taken this role in January that we cannot do this without the support of the community. So we're asking the community to be with us. My team and I are working diligently to educate residents about the impact of abandoned properties and encourage them to report trespassing and work with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Director Richard Price, Chief O'Neill, Chief Humphrey, for all of their team's collaborations. And thank you very much to Deputy Mayor David James and Deputy Mayor Nicole George, who are working and to help coordinate all of these initiatives to, again, take action against something that we know we can do improved way to improve public safety, to improve the quality of life in our neighborhood all across the city. And we are confident that this will make positive progress in the months and the years ahead. Thank you all very much. So before we get to questions, one other item that we'd like to recognize today on this Thanksgiving week, one time to reflect, time to think about what's going on in our community. And one of the things that I'm so thankful for are the great organizations that are doing important work all across our community. And one of those that we're here to recognize today is that November is National Epilepsy Awareness Month. Epilepsy is a brain disorder that causes seizures. It affects more than 170,000 people in Kentucky and southern Indiana. That includes children, adults, veterans, plus their families, and impacts our entire community. Our city is blessed with a vibrant, caring, and dedicated nonprofit community. And I'd like to highlight on this week of Thanksgiving one particular organization, the Epilepsy Foundation of Kentuckiana. They are doing wonderful work to help people with epilepsy live rich, full lives. That work involves supporting people who have epilepsy and their families, while also doing extensive education and advocacy work, and so much more. So now I'd like to recognize Sonya Ferguson, who's the Director of Client Services at the Epilepsy Foundation of Kentucky, and present a foundation to both of you all for all of the great work. And noting that this November is Epilepsy Awareness Month, we thank you guys both for your support and for your leadership. And we've got two folks and two proclamations. So for Epilepsy Awareness Month, and to note Sonya as a distinguished citizen in Louisville. Thank you guys so much for all of your work. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you all very much. And finally, before we get to questions, I would just like to say how thankful I am. How thankful I am this year for the 5,000 dedicated, hardworking public servants who are colleagues of mine at Louisville Metro Government, for their dedication every day to move Louisville in a new direction, to take action to address challenging problems, to improve the lives of others, to make our city safer, stronger, and healthier. Our city has great momentum, making positive change in people's lives that we're seeing happen right now. And that's because the work of my 5,000 colleagues at Louisville Metro Government. And so to everyone at Louisville Metro Government, I just want to say how thankful I am for each and every one of you for dedicating your life to serving our community. I hope everyone in our city has an incredibly happy Thanksgiving and has a chance to reflect on what they are thankful for as well during this holiday season. With that, I'm happy to take any questions from the media.
I feel like we didn't get around to the lien forgiveness program. Is that another component of kind of tackling the vacant properties, actually letting people do something with them?
That's absolutely right. So it's going to launch on December 1st, and the new Affordable Housing Lien Waiver Forgiveness Pilot Program, I know that's a mouthful. Basically what that is that there are a lot of the homes that we're seeing in neighborhoods have code enforcement liens. Director Price and his team are doing their work, and when homes are in violation of the codes, we want to improve the quality of that home, to improve the quality of the neighborhood. Sometimes, though, those rack up. And oftentimes they might rack up, someone might inherit a property and they don't have the resources to pay off the liens. You might have a $30,000 home that has $20,000 of liens. And that home is never going to sell. It's never going to unlock the value for the homeowner that's stuck. It's never going to improve the quality of the neighborhood. It's going to continue to deteriorate, and it's not going to provide an opportunity for another family to own a home that they can be proud of and start to create generational wealth. And the city's never going to collect the money if the home never sells. So we think this is a win-win program, a program that can help create new home ownership opportunities for low and moderate income families. This is a program that can help improve the quality of neighborhoods because vacant and abandoned structures will be converted into newly renovated homes that families can enjoy and take care of. And it'll also put properties back on the property tax roll, so that's good for the city as well. So we're excited for this program to roll out December 1st. It's part of our effort to convert these 2,500 or more vacant and abandoned properties that we have around the city and convert them back into more productive uses.
Was this something that community organizations or neighborhood organizations were asking for? How did this kind of come together?
Well, we've been looking at a lot of different ways that we can address these issues with vacant and abandoned properties across the community. So we listed several today that we're working on. And one thing that I realized was the city, we have all of these receivables on our books, meaning that the city says, oh, we're going to collect all this money in code enforcement liens. The reality is we're never going to collect that money because these liens are never going to be paid off. The homes are stuck. And so as we're looking at creative ways for how we can take vacant and abandoned properties and get them back into a more productive use, this was one idea that we had to just forgive the liens and have a new family have the opportunity to own that home. One of several strategies that we're taking. You heard about some others today as well.
Mayor, question. As we get ready to celebrate Thanksgiving, it's been 2 weeks since the Jivotonic explosion in Clifton. Any more information on relief for the families or help for families that are currently displaced?
So yesterday, Deputy Mayor Nicole George, Councilman Andrew Owen, and I walked door to door in the neighborhood right off of Frankfurt Avenue in the homes that were hardest hit by the explosion, to have conversations with impacted families, to see the damage up close, to hear about the recovery efforts, and to see what else we could do to help. So we are working with those impacted individuals, with the impacted homeowners, to help them get the support they need. I was pleased to see that there is work in progress already to restore homes that have been damaged. We're also working with our Department of Public Health on ways that we can ensure everyone, some folks need some access to additional both physical and mental health services as a result of the explosion. And so we're working with those individuals that have reached out to try to ensure that they are getting the medical treatment that they need over the coming. And again, we're continuing to do whatever we can to support everyone who's impacted. I mean, there's some incredibly significant damage. I met some folks yesterday who have to be out of their homes permanently by December 4th because of the impact of the explosion on some townhomes right across the railroad tracks from where it exploded. I met many families that are not yet living back in their home because of structural damage to their homes. So this has really impacted many people's lives, and we want to make sure that we're with them until everyone is back on their feet.
People were outside Metro Hall yesterday asking you and the city to commit to signing the LFD consent decree before Donald Trump takes office. Will you commit to doing that?
Thank you for asking that question. I have said from the very beginning that my administration and I are committed to the reform and improvement of LMPD. And under Chief Humphrey's leadership, that reform and improvement is accelerating by the day. When it comes to the consent decree has to work hand in hand with our efforts to improve public safety and reduce gun violence. And I've told the Department of Justice that there are two key criteria for any consent decree that the city will sign. I've been very clear about this since the very beginning. First, the goals need to be specific and measurable. We need to identify very clearly what those goals are so that we as a city, so that LMPD can work to achieve those goals. And once the consent decree is over, we can continue to ensure that we are doing the right thing in our entire community. And second, there needs to be a clear exit path, that when we perform, when we have sustained performance and meet those goals, that there is a path to exit the consent decree. So we have been working incredibly hard towards getting a consent decree done. One thing I think it's important to clear up, folks say sign a consent decree. There is no consent decree to sign right now because there is no final document. So that is a false narrative that's being portrayed. Our team, members of LMPD, have worked incredibly hard this year with the DOJ, negotiating to make this happen. We have had... I'll wait for him. Okay. Our team has been working incredibly diligently this entire year to work to get a final consent decree that we can sign. Our team has had over 65 meetings with the Department of Justice since March, countless phone calls. They're meeting with the DOJ today. I had conversations myself last week. We are working diligently to get a consent decree complete that meets these goals. That's what we're working towards. So there is no consent decree to sign right now. That's what we're working towards. I believe we still have time left before the change in the administration.
But so are you suggesting that there's a chance that the opportunity of independent court oversight of police reform in the city might not happen next year?
All I'm saying is that we are working hard to get a consent decree complete, one that has specific performance measures and one that has a clear exit path so that our police department, our entire city, everyone who's looking at us can see exactly what we're working for. In the meantime, we're not waiting. We're continuing to take action to continue to improve LMPD.
I have a question for Chief Humphrey. Just the latest reaction to the lawsuit against the department alleging discrimination and hostile work environment. Just your thoughts on that.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Just a reaction to that lawsuit that was filed by one of the LFD officers alleging workplace discrimination and hostile work environment. Do you think that lawsuit has any merit?
Well, I'm really sorry for Des Roches and what he's been through. Obviously, he went through a tough time being shot in the line of duty. You know, officers put their lives on the line every day. But as far as the specifics of his allegations, I'm not going to argue those here and now. What I will say is that we do our best to take care of our officers when they're injured the way that he was. And I think we've made strides in the last couple of years, even more so. And my goal, and this is what I went to a roll call this morning, and we were talking about recruitment. And I told officers, my goal is to make this place as good of a place to work as possible so that they have the pride in wearing this badge and this patch so that they go out there and tell others this is a great place to be. And so that's what I'm going to continue trying to do. That's what I want our command staff to do because I want everyone to love this place and work hard for the community. And that's my promise to every officer here. That's my promise to every employee, including Officer Des Roches.
One more? Any more?
Mayor Greenberg, not to harp too much on the consent decree thing. If you got this consent decree and it showed up on your desk January 4th, would you sign it?
If the consent decree meets what I just described, then of course I would sign. I've been very clear about that since the very beginning. We need a complete document. We can't have, there is no final draft at this point because we don't have specific and clear performance measures and there's not a clear exit path. Again, it takes two parties to reach an agreement. Our team has been working incredibly hard, thousands of hours, 65 meetings since March. So many people involved, Chief Humphrey, myself, and many other dedicated people working in good faith to get this done. We are committed to reform. We are working to get a consent decree completed. Thank you all. Have a happy Thanksgiving.